Well, like I was sorry, I use your like school for example, but like she said, like there were probably no Muslims that went to her school. But let's say maybe one moved to town, and like and then she's like, oh well, I'm Muslim. They're like, oh okay, fine, you can wear the head wraps. The only girl in the school wearing a head wrap, that kind of makes you an outcast. That kind of, you know, that makes you different from everyone else. Even though like at your house and other cultures, like at this school, you wouldn't be any different than a lot of the girls on campus because it's all uniforms make us look the same. But if everyone is different, it also brings a sort of like familiar feeling. But like everyone's different, so it's just kind of whatever. So like you see somebody with a headscarf, it's like, oh well, she's just her. But if everyone's wearing the same exact thing, except for that one or two people who are different from the culture that's significant to that area, then they're the outcast.
Do you want to respond or
Yes. I disagree, because your original argument was the idea that schools like Santiago will have a higher concentration of cultures that demand certain things like head wraps. So if I do go to Santiago, chances are if I need a head wrap, I'm going to find other people with head wraps. The only reason that her school might have been so different is because it was such a small case study. You know, it was such a small sample, and private schools tend to be from a certain community, and that community is generally typically tends to be within the same races, same economic background, same cultural background. You know, that's why people, you know, like you heard, like birds of a feather flock together. That's the whole idea. People who are similar flock together. I have seen it. Trust me. Like anywhere you find Asians, there are a lot of Asians. You know, there are little concentration pockets of Asians throughout California. I know because I know that's where I do my, you know, food shopping. So I can honestly say from experience that if I'm going to find one Asian, I'm going to find 100 of them, and I will not be outcasted. And you know what? That tends to go for most races, most cultures. And if you are one and only, at least you'll be original, at least you'll be unique, and at least you can educate some people who have only been surrounded by the same type of people on your culture. Might you be an outcast? Yeah, but sometimes there are difficulties that you have to undergo. Even right now, if I was the only one to wear a headscarf walking around school, right, I would still look weird because I'd be the only guy with something on my head, you know, other than a cap. Like, I'd still be different. I'd still be weird. No, a uniform changes none of that.
Though I would have to disagree. Oh, because the way I see it, and not to offend anyone, but they shouldn't respect your culture or your religion if you're a part of this uniform. The uniform it should work is that here's our criteria of what we want you to wear. Nothing more, nothing less. That way they are not addressing an issue of religion or culture. They're not addressing whether or not, oh, but it goes against, it doesn't matter. Especially in private schools. You want to go to the school, this is what you're going to have to wear. All right? They're not, and it's not necessarily discrimination because they're not addressing anyone. They're not saying, oh, you can wear headscarves, but you can't wear dashikis. Like, no, none of that is allowed. So I think that when you brought up about, oh, what about headscarves, what about their religion, what about their culture, well, that's almost irrelevant once it gets to the school because usually for private schools, public schools, it would probably work differently, but I imagine it'd probably go the same route, you know? Hey, these are our school uniforms, you know? You got to wear it like this because the whole point of school uniform generally, or what we've seen, what I've seen personally, is that, you know, that way you keep the kids all the same so that way there's no more distractions like what we brought up, including, you know, girls and guys just, you know, with socioeconomic barriers. It just keeps everyone the same. But if you start allowing these leeways like, oh, but you can wear this if it's with your religion, well then what's the point of having a school uniform if you're just going to get rid of laws or get rid of the policy that enforces them? So at least, you know, that's what I'm saying is that a school uniform, they probably wouldn't give any, you know, one way or the other.
I do not know her name, the one who went to a private school.
Montana.
I'm just curious, are there any other rules that you might be able to recall from your private school that related to school uniforms? Like any other rules you'd like to share?
Well, you couldn't, I think we had to have the same shoes, if I remember right. We had to have the same shoes or we had to have a similar style to what they mandated. And they didn't really have any regulations on hair or makeup, but I was in like 3rd grade, so I didn't really know about that then. Girls and guys did have the same stuff though. Everything was, I mean, except for the skirts and the dresses, everything was co-ed. So.
I'll just I
remember is that I went to a private school as well for a few years. They did have one other regulation at mine, which was normally your hair couldn't be longer than Anthony's. If it was anything longer, then you'd have to cut it a bit shorter. So that's just one of the other rules that they would have in private schools. And normally, most private schools stick to one religion. There are a lot that don't, but a lot of the time it's just one religion for that private school. So you wouldn't really have to worry about the differentiated religions at the school.
Hence the difference between a private school and a public school. A private school is more like you your parents solely make the decision to go there. Public school is kind of like, well, here's a bunch of them, you have to go to one, so you pick one. But in order to do that, and I'm kind of starting to sound like Jake now, but it would be very, very unconstitutional.
No, she's talking about how you kept bringing up the Constitution.
Yes.
Shut up.
It's very unconstitutional to ignore somebody else's culture, not because oh it would regulate the rules, but because we're America and we're made up of a lot of different cultures. Like we're not the only reason it's okay for I'm not trying to make you seem bad, but the only reason you think it's okay to say no to every kind of head wrapping that they wear is because we are a Christian nation. We're mostly Christian. Say we're a mostly Muslim, then all girls, all guys have to wear all these head wraps, but this one girl doesn't want to because she doesn't want to. But no, you have to because we're a predominantly Muslim nation. So to say that we should just ignore their religion is to not to oppress, but it's to thoroughly enforce the fact that we are a predominantly Christian nation, which is against the Constitution.
Right, so I'm just gonna make a rebuttal. I understand your point. That makes perfect sense. Usually Muslim, they might. I'm not Muslim, so I don't know how it works. But I do know a little. But anyways, it wasn't. What I said, it wasn't motivated by being Christian nation. I wasn't trying to acknowledge that. I was just saying, just because Christians, they don't usually have things that would make them change the way they dress. Muslims, they do with the headscarves. There's some Hindu cultures where they have the turbans as well. And you see that in Christianity and Catholicism, there isn't really a lot of that where, if you want to show your faith, you wear these clothes. Some people, they wear the cross around their necklace, but that's usually more accessory related. It's not really part of the faith, but it's a way of showing it. So if it was part of a Christian culture, then they'd say, okay, now everyone has to wear a cross around their neck or around their as a bracelet. But I'm saying, that's the thing, is how it would be viewed as discrimination because, they're just saying, Muslims can't do that. Well, Muslims are pretty much the only ones that are doing that. As far as, clothing that would somehow interrupt the whole dress code. So that's the point I wanted to make.
Alright, school is supposed to be boring, not to show any. Can I sit down actually?
Oh, yeah.
It's mine. Alright, well, school is supposed to be boring. It's not a place to show individuality. So when the person said to show that individuality, that's just something that you can do for fun, basically. Also, with school uniforms, we could look professional looking like we do in JSA. We could look like we know our shit, Also, it shows unity among us, school spirit, all that other stuff, but practically Santiago. Also, gang violence mostly appeals Centennial, down the street. We don't really have that here. That's all Centen.
Want to speak?
It's okay. I let others speak. When I'm speaking, it's fine.
Oh, you want to be moderator now? Is that
no, I'm just saying.
Well, the gavel says, shut up.
Individual outfits can be worn on the weekends and stuff, and that's that can be the time when kids showcase, if they know how to dress or not, just so when they chill around their friends. I've personally seen people get made fun of because of their clothing when here, I've seen it my Scotland classes, make fun of Tish because he wears certain stuff. Uniforms are also cheaper for parents because they don't have to spend money on the newest trends and stuff. Not too long ago, actually no, I don't know any fact, but yeah, basically it's just way cheaper for them. Fads are also fashions we're looked down upon from private schools because we don't have uniforms and private schools do, and they're mostly higher ranked than we are. Also, people who like have to wear certain items, clothing, like the headscarf and everything, they could just either do independent study or just transfer to like another school. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. Seeing as how we have about 5 minutes left, I just wanted to wrap this up and get some final arguments. So, can we get someone in favor of school uniforms to come up and speak? Anyone would want to speak in favor of them? Jake, you want to speak in favor?
Oh, no.
You want, okay. And you want to speak con, I'm assuming. Anyone else want to speak against school uniforms? All right, so Jake, you can do it. No, let's have Jake go first.
Okay. Overall, I think school uniforms, specifically in public schools, are a bad idea because they infringe on our constitutional rights and take away from our individuality. And going back on, I'm not familiar with your name. What? Yeah. Going back on what you said, you mentioned gang violence, but yes, it prevents people from wearing their gang colors, but it doesn't prevent them from grouping together during school or going about their gang-like activities or what they're going to do together in basically what they're going to do. It just prevents them from showing, yes, I'm part of a gang. It doesn't prevent violence or any of their actions that they do. And the school uniform would really just, it takes away from our individuality. The cons outweigh the pros, and it really just indoctrinates us into being a boring, conformist society.
First off, Jake has been bringing up this multiple times throughout the debate, and that is the idea of the constitutionality of this. In another Supreme Court case, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, it was upheld that the sanctity of a contract outweighs the sanctity of any sort of federal legislation. In other words, we have the right to sign away our rights, and that contract is upheld. And when we come into this school, we sign a contract that we agree that we won't, use vulgarity, that we will follow, we won't be in possession of certain objects. We sign away our rights to these things, and we come into the school giving away our rights. And in the same way, under a Supreme Court case, which so many of which Jake has brought up, in the same concepts, we can sign away our rights, and it is I believe it's in my own right to do so. Furthermore, Jake brought up the idea that this makes us a conformist society, that this makes us all the same. Well, look at me. I don't dress very differently. You can see me, I'm pretty much wearing the same idea of the clothing every day, and I look pretty much like 500 other people throughout the school. I'm not unique, I'm not different. And at least I don't look so. But if you were to talk to me, I'd like to say that I'm a fairly unique individual. I'm sure a lot of you can vouch for that. I'm very different in my views and my approach to life. I'm weird in every sense of the word. And my point in this is that, yes, it doesn't matter how I dress. It doesn't matter if I'm wearing a black shirt and jeans every day. It doesn't really matter because when you talk to me, you can know that I'm different. We aren't brainwashing kids into saying, this is how you're going to live life. This is the American way. Do this, do this. I tell you do this, you do this, That's not what we're doing. We glorify individual cultures, yes, and that sometimes you can see that through our dress, but sometimes you can see that through my actions. You can see that through my different views. Maybe we need to stop. Maybe the uniform is an opportunity to bypass the superficial views. To say that, oh look, she wears pink, I don't like her, because people will do that. Like, that color of shirt? No, that's too bright. Oh God, I don't want to see that in school. Yes, I have heard girls say this to me too. It was weird. Anyways, my point is this: that when it gives us the uniform isn't just a conformist thing. It isn't just to stop certain distractions and the like. Sometimes it's an opportunity to train us to see beyond the cover of the book. To see beyond the superficial shells that we see people in, to prevent us from stereotyping so naturally as we do. And I think that's why a uniform is so beneficial. Is that it allows us to see people beyond what what the color of our skin is or the color of our shirt is.
Before we let you hooligans go, we're going to vote on this. So, for those of you in favor of school uniforms, please raise your hand. Wow. All right, put your hands down. Those of you who are against school uniforms, please raise your hand.
All right, those, any abstentions? You don't care either way? No.
So close.
Abstentions count as no.
Yeah, well, just the 40.
This
We're coming
is,
slowly back to the 40.
so this resolution passes with a vote of 9 to 6 to 1. So yeah, school uniforms. Long way.
Boo!
Start wearing suits every day.